So another week has passed, and another week of thesis experience is now under my belt. A lot of stuff has happened since this past week. It's been a really busy one since I spent most of my time last week in Atlanta participating in an AP Summer Institute, which I will be talking about in another video unrelated to my thesis project. But what happened this week was a lot of progress was made on the sweater. The entire length of it was knitted up, and right now I am working on the right sleeve. So, after I did the work of splitting the yoke, I made another blog post. I made a blog post about the June check in, which kind of basically just talked about hey, I'm undertaking this new project, the Eclipse of Moth sweaters. Expect more blog posts about this sweater, and then eventually the final process when I get done. I really want to get this done very quickly so that I can spend the last month of the project, July, focusing on my creation project, which I want to be an Aran Island knit sweater. I want to focus on that. And I also want to focus on actually writing my thesis paper. I did get into it this week. I'm trying to do a more unconventional format. I want to actually make my thesis paper look like a magazine. So, a little bit more on that later. But I focused more on this June check in post. So, if you want to see what it looks like and sounds like live while I'm writing a blog post, here is some footage. So I published that June check-in blog post on Friday, knitted a lot in stockinette on Saturday, and on Sunday I was on my way to Atlanta. So the car ride from where I live to Atlanta is about 5.5 hours. And during that 5.5 hour time, I spent all of it knitting and staying concentrated on knitting, getting in that flow state, and just really working stockinette as long as I needed to. Once I got to that 10 inches below the armhole, I was able to work in 1x1 rib. And honestly, by the time that we got there in Atlanta, I was working that rib and I was almost ready to bind off using the Italian sewn bind off. The Italian bind off is by far my favorite of all the other ones I've tried. I've tried using the knit bind off, the bind off in pattern, and even the stretchy bind off, but none of them really compares to the nice look and feel and sense of security that I get with this bind off. It is sewn, so yes, I do have to use the darning needle like I am doing here, and it is a repetitive pattern of knit, purl, purl, knit. Once you've learned it, it's really hard to kind of lose it. It's very easy to keep track of. And the reason why I say that this brings me a sense of security is that each stitch is sewn through twice. So I get that extra sense that these are locked in and these stitches are not going to be loose. It can feel a little weird sewing your first couple of stitches because the amount of thread that you need to fully complete this bind off is 3 times the circumference of your project. So in the beginning, it's pulling a lot of thread instead of really doing a lot of sewing. But the farther along you get, the shorter you have to pull. So after I bound off the bottom edge of the sweater, I began working on the sleeves. So to do the sleeves, I began picking up stitches around the bottom armpit area. I picked up about 5 stitches there and then began knitting back the stitches that I had kept on hold after I split the yoke. So I knit all the stitches that I had kept already, picked up 5 more stitches on the other part of the lower armpit, and then joined this in the round and began working on my sleeve. Currently, I am on row 100 of my right sleeve, and very soon I'm going to stop working in stockinette and then work 2 more inches in my 1x1 rib before I bind off using the Italian bind off again, and then begin work on the right or the left sleeve. Throughout this entire trip, as I was knitting and also focusing on the content of my AP Summer Institute, I was also working on the thesis paper itself. I did mention earlier that I wanted to try a magazine format. I know it's a little bit out there. I'm really hoping that I can still keep it academic while also giving it another visual representation that I feel like this project deserves. I sent it over to my thesis advisor, kind of saying, hey, this is what I have so far. This is the idea that I have. Please let me know if it's a little bit too out there or if we're worried about the academic integrity of the project. So I'm still waiting on that response. And this week, I look forward to finishing this project because, like I said earlier, I want it to be done so I have enough time to work on my last project for July, and time is ticking away on that. So for this next week, I'm going to spend some time finishing this project, making more videos and making more blog posts and paper progress that I will be sharing with you all. So thank you again and expect to hear from me soon. If you have made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching and supporting my journey on the way to knitting mastery. This video is the second in a series dedicated to documenting my honors thesis project, so if you'd like more information about the project, please watch the first video that is posted on this channel. If you would like another way to keep up with my progress, I do have a blog. It is www.redstringknits.com, and that is where I do upload more regular progress along with some more pictures of my ongoing work. Thank you so much for supporting, and I will see you soon.